Hi, my name's Judith Jones. I'm CEO of AT Enterprises. We're a small global training company based in the UK. We've been training enterprise architects for over 20 years in how to apply enterprise architecture standards in their world. So what I'd like to do today is talk to you about how we can use enterprise architecture skills for digital transformation. If you're in a digital transformation team, what can you expect of your architects? What do you have to do to make the enterprise architecture work? So I'm going to look at some of those skills and some of the things that have happened over those 20 years. So basically, we have a lot of digital challenges. Trying to translate strategic objectives into successful outcomes is the #1 challenge facing government and business leaders around the world. In the world of digital business transformation, successful initiatives are delivered less than 70% of the time. There's amazing numbers still, but it's not a lack of vision that's causing it, but a lack of understanding by people on how to successfully execute their vision. So yes, we know we need to translate the vision into a mission, into goals and strategies and action plans. But how do we know which way to go? And do we have the time to spend trying to build that digital transformation on the fly, right? Because winning teams need to make bold moves early and they need to be the right moves. Do we have time to learn is the big question. Well, we do. And one of the things that hit us over the last 20 years is how many strategic objectives fail simply because people do not understand how to proceed and how to go. They go into a learning mode, and that's great. But what they need to also understand is how they can translate their strategic objectives into real visible outcomes that make that transformation a success. Amazingly, only 2% of leaders today are confident that they'll achieve 80 to 100% of their strategic objectives. That's quite a challenge. What I'd like to do is try and make that 20% of leaders, put a note on the end. And then what I'd like to do over time is make it 100%, right? So my objective is to show you today some of the things that you would need to think about in terms of being successful in that digital transformation. So what are the challenges that you're going to face? Well, working together as a team can be challenging when the people come from different backgrounds and experiences. They bring lots to the table, but working through which is the best way to go in our complex landscape of today, which is shaped by extreme citizen and customer expectations and continuous disruption. Success can't be left to chance. What we need are new mindsets, but we also need a proven approach. We need organizational adoption to stimulate the decision making and avoid fragmented execution. These are the key areas that cause the problems. Fragmented execution. Some people get it, some people don't. How can we make sure that every member's contribution is valued, but at the same time provide the structure and focus to make that digital transformation a success? And that's basically what I'm going to try and talk about with enterprise architecture. How can it help? Well, enterprise architecture is the critical bond between strategy and execution. It's the architecture of how the enterprise operates. It's the business infrastructure. It's a technical infrastructure. What it does is it provides a structure for decision making. All they are decisions that we're making in the business, in the IT, in order to transform our organization and get the best value out of the digital capabilities that we have. So the digital transformation team needs to drive the transformation by embracing that enterprise architecture capability. So press the green button to create the building blocks for transformation and make sure that we have on time and on budget execution to maximize our return on investment. And we will do that by making sure that we clarify our business strategies, we optimize all our operating models, and we harmonize the business and IT investments. And when I say harmonize, that's what I mean. They work together intricately. We're not necessarily just about aligning. Aligning assumes you've got two things that you're going to try and put them together in some way. What I'm suggesting we do is, as we develop our transformation thinking, we harmonize both of the business and the IT together. So we have a true enterprise architecture. Now, what are the basics of enterprise architecture we need to think about? Well, one of the key things that enterprise architecture does is it looks at all aspects of the enterprise, all the different domains of architecture. We look at the business, we look at the business architecture, we look at the data structures, we look at the data architecture, we understand the knowledge. We look at digital applications, all the different types of digital capabilities, whether it's simple workflow to artificial intelligence, and big supercomputing capabilities. And we also look at the technical architecture, how that fits with the new business capabilities that we're looking for. How are we going to exploit that technical architecture to make sure that the business gets the maximum value? And that's what the focus of an enterprise architecture team is. And they do that by utilizing common methods, tools, a common language, and a decision content structure that enables them to integrate all of their decisions together in a way that harmonizes and makes sense for the organization. Now, one of the other things that they do is they build a team. In the process of building an enterprise architecture, we look at all the different stakeholders in the enterprise. The stakeholders usually make the business decisions. Our job as enterprise architects is to bring those decisions into the enterprise architecture structure. It's to make sure that the digital capabilities that we are exploiting utilize the business knowledge and skills that we have. It's all about helping the digital transformation team to make better decisions, exploiting the different technology services, but ultimately owning their own destiny architecture. Because ultimately, every stakeholder owns their own architecture in the end. And that's where the enterprise architecture team is focused. How can we develop capabilities that enable stakeholders to operate in a new world? That's basically the bottom line. So how do they help? Well, many of the decisions that are made, in particular, they help in making those decisions, whether that's in the business, by helping to define the problems, shaping the problems, in the strategic design, in the business changes, or even in the commercial perspective of what will work, what won't work, what will give us a return, what won't, and how to communicate between the technical and non-technical capabilities that we have. So one of the key areas that they help in is what we call community collaboration. They help the communities to move along the journey of digital transformation, and at the same time offer services to for design and technology and data perspectives that are needed in that digital area. So their focus is on creating an enterprise architecture, but in particular a business architecture, because it's the business that is shaping how we're going to use this new technology. At the same time, we also need to make sure that we follow the right governance and we have the right assurances on the solution sets that we're bringing into the marketplace. So our job is to build the team, to model that enterprise and deliver the transformation. Very simple. But we're there to help the stakeholders do that. We're not the people who are going to ultimately own it. We may own it in transient. We may help people to make the decisions, but ultimately it's stakeholders that own it. So how can the stakeholders contribute to enterprise architecture? Well, firstly, make sure that the governance and assurance works. That's key. We need to guide the organisation to make sure that the decisions that are being made achieve value for money and at the same time reduce the risk. Because we don't want to put our organisation into a scenario where it will fail. The other area you can help is by making sure that we've got the best enterprise architecture principles, the policies and the standards all line up, and collaborate and consult with other stakeholders, not just in your own area, but across the organisation, to make sure that the business decisions are harmonised within the enterprise. So none of the decisions stand out and are in conflict with the rest of the enterprise. That's a big job, pulling that collaboration together. The other area that you can help is to make sure that your industry and your profession, whatever they are, can identify emerging trends and their potential impact and opportunity for the organisation. So how your capabilities can actually help transform the organisational culture that we have and how we can enable our enterprise architecture to be effective. So those are the sorts of areas that you can help in. And how do you add value? Well, make sure that we can identify priorities for change. We need to do rapid transformation delivery, right? We don't have time to hang about. So leading and identifying the priorities and influencing the delivery of business capabilities and value is a critical contribution that the stakeholders can bring. The other area is we want you to own that enterprise strategy and the business roadmaps. We can help create the roadmaps, but you need to own them. And then we need you to support collaboration across the business, working together as a team to make sure that the structures and the decisions that are made in the digital transformation are effective. So some of the areas that we need you to work on is understanding the organisation's ecosystem and its interdependencies. It's actually a critical aspect of enterprise architecture. Enterprise architecture is not just about a solution, it's about how the whole enterprise fits together. So we need the stakeholders to help in achieving that and to take a strategic view across all the domains and portfolios and programs so we get it right. So delivering the transformed organizational behavior and the culture is something that we want stakeholders to help us achieve. So that's how you can add value. The future is also in the hands of your people. Working out the skill sets for your team and training your people to do a good job for you is also another responsibility of stakeholders. Throwing people in at the deep end doesn't work, right? They drown. We don't want them to drown. What we need them to do is understand what the business capabilities are that you have now and what you need to have for the future. Many senior managers that I come across ask me that question. Do we have the capabilities to do what we want to do next week, next year, next month? And what I say to them is, you have the capabilities, but what you have to do is go on an exploration. You have to support and build the business architecture that addresses those business capabilities. Learn the business architecture language and how to model your business architecture. This is what your stakeholders need to be, business architects. So working closely and complementing the enterprise architects and their team, translating those models into realities and complement the skills of the enterprise architecture is a major contribution that stakeholders can make in their digital transformation journey, because ultimately you need to take ownership of the decisions that are being made. Why? Because then you have to be ready for the next journey, because digital transformation is not going to stop. It's an onward journey. Once you start going down those tracks, you're going to continue and continue and continue. So developing competencies for the transformation and continuous transformation is absolutely critical right from the beginning. Now, one of the things that we do in enterprise architecture is train people in various skills. And these are just some of the skills that we train our architects in. The skill set includes main categories of skills, about generic skills like leadership and writing and communication skills, business skills and methods, business analysis, enterprise architecture skills, I'll go a little bit more into those, program and project management skills, and even understanding the legal environment, what you can and can't do, what you have to protect your organization from, fraud, risk, high security issues. And of course, there's also understanding the IT capabilities, the digital capabilities, the technical skills that you need. So our enterprise architects are always on a journey. They're always developing their skills and their knowledge in order to develop their skills and capabilities to evolve digital transformation. And this is what stakeholders need to do as well. Now, we have something called the TOGAF Skills Framework, which is the categorization of skills that we need. And I'm just going to show you just some of those skills that we have. Don't get frightened, right? What we have are skills about addressing business models, systems integration, role design, application design, building block design, how we interwork in the business. So a whole series of skills which are specific for enterprise architecture. But these are just basic skills. And what I'm showing you here is that when we're building an enterprise architecture, we often involve many, many people in our teams. We have sponsors, we have lots of different architects and skills, project managers, designers, solution architects, and the stakeholders themselves. Yeah, the operating units, the business managers, the senior managers. So we often try and grade the level of their skills. This is what skills frameworks do. Do they need awareness? Is there a background? Do they need high skill knowledge? Do they need to be gurus? And so we grade the roles, not the people, but we grade the roles as to what sort of level of skill you might need. And that's what the TOGAF Skills Framework does. If you want to follow that and have a look, I've put the website down at the bottom. And this is a very basic skills profile of some of the things we have. Now, my suggestion is that when a stakeholder comes into doing digital transformation, he takes a look at the EA skills and says, do I have those? Does my architect have those? How are we going to develop those? Because some of these skills are things that stakeholders can do. Business models, the business architecture components, understanding the business capabilities. What values do you get? Right? These are all things that the business needs to have, as well as the architect. Now, the architect can guide you in those decisions, but what ultimately has to happen is that the business has to accept those decisions, has to understand the decisions and know how to implement them. So some of the enterprise architecture tools that we use to help us along this journey are things like the TOGAF standard. This is a methodology that we adopt in order to determine where we are in our enterprise architecture capability. So we do various domains. We have an architecture vision. We look at different domains of architecture. We look at what the opportunities, different solution sets that can help us with that. How we're going to get to that new architecture, and then all the governance associated with it, and then subsequently the change management around it. All driven by the requirements of the business, ultimately. So we have methods that can help us do that, which we'd like stakeholders to join in with. We also have business architecture tools and techniques, and we also have architecture languages, in particular one called Archimate, which is a very useful language. And people often say, oh, that's just for architects. Well, no, it's not. Because what it does as a language, it can express the business. It can express goals and outcomes and resources and strategies and capabilities and value. All the things that the business needs to also understand. So while the architect can use the modeling language, the Archimate and other languages, ultimately, stakeholder has to be able to read it. You have to be able to say, yeah, I agree with that. No, I don't agree with that. I think we ought to change this. And those are the skill sets that we will need to develop as we go along our journey. Because it can't just leave it all to the enterprise architect. Your digital transformation teams need to understand how this works. So these are the sorts of tools that you'll need to join in with to help us develop that digital transformation. Now, enterprise architects don't just stay still at their basic skill sets. There's lots and lots of other skill sets that are constantly being developed. You know, how to be agile, how to manage data, how to develop your value, how to manage your organization structures, how to evolve your EA capability, how to do digital technology adoption. These are just some of the things that the architects develop. And of course, you're on that journey with them. So learning some of these capabilities and this knowledge from the enterprise architects, I think is going to be very useful because you're going to need it on the next journey and then the next journey, because your journey is a continuous and it's not going to stop. And as we're developing our enterprise architecture skills, the stakeholders need to also develop their skills. So stakeholder skills for business transformation, you know, quite important in terms of being successful. If we want to be in that 2% of organizations that are going to be successful, these are the skills that you need. So understanding different business models, different reference architectures, understanding capabilities, business capabilities, value streams, what values we're creating in our digital transformation, how we can maximize the value, how our information is structured, what values we get from it, how our processes are structured. And there are lots of other tools and techniques that we can use, like Balanced Scorecard, like those management techniques that you can learn in business school. So every skill and capability that you develop in your digital team is going to continue to be developed and enhanced. Because when you're in a digital team, that's only the beginning of the journey. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that's stepping into the EA world. Now, one of the things I always suggest to people, to stakeholders, is remember to always measure your skills. In our skills framework, we have whole sets of skills and we measure them. Are we a 1? Are we a 2? Are we a 3? Do we understand it? Can I enhance it? And this is the area that I think that stakeholders also need to think about. So when you enter onto a digital transformation team, set up your own skills framework. What skill do I need? What skill have I developed? Am I a 1? I know it's there. Am I a 2? I understand how to use it. Am I a 3? I have a lot of knowledge about it. Am I a 4? I'm a guru. So developing that understanding as you enter on the digital transformation journey, I think, and then continue to develop and measure your capabilities and experience as you move forward. So the journey to success, where is this leading us to? Well, excuse me, when you join the 2% teams, you'll realize that the 2% teams know what they're doing. They understand all the levers of their enterprise. They understand their enterprise strategy, their motivation. They understand their ecosystems and the operating models. And ultimately, they understand how their business is operating and the digital capabilities that they need in order to survive in the new world. And this is what a business reference model can give you, right? Develop your business reference model, right? What do we have? What do I know? And you might ask the question, well, what's in all of this? Well, what's in all of this is, in your strategy and motivation, you've got a strategic context. You understand your legislation, your value in the market, the industry environment you're operating in, your customers and markets, your citizens, the investors that you have, political investors or commercial investors, and the motivation, understanding your business mission and vision, right? Understanding the business strategies. All of these are part of your strategy and motivation. And as you enter onto your digital journey, all of these change. And all of these are constantly changing because your journey is not going to stop. So having understood what your strategies and motivations are, what's the ecosystem? Well, you're building this new ecosystem. You're building new operating models, and it covers a whole raft of different areas. You're looking at your principles, your models, your culture and behavior. You're looking at infrastructure models, resource models. Gradually, you will build up capabilities across all these different areas. And you need to keep them up because these are going to be constantly changing. Some of the other areas that you also need to address are your business operations and the digital capabilities that you have. Understanding your business continuity, how your data is changing, what the principles and governances are, what your products and services are, and looking at your digital enablement and the platforms that you have in order to create this new digital world. So when you are on your journey to success, this is what the 2% of teams know. They built this up, and they've been building this up for 20 years, some of them, and they have become very, very competent in developing and understanding how their whole business enterprise operates. And that's the secret of their competitive edge, because they've got agility. And it all begins with their people, making sure that their people are able to build the right services, the right models, translate their models into reality. And ultimately, what you're building is a business reference architecture for your whole organization, piece by piece by piece by piece. And this is a journey to success. And what I hope is that as people start to build their reference capabilities, working with the enterprise architects to do that, working on the skill sets, particularly some of those enterprise architecture type skills that need to be transferred from an enterprise architect to their stakeholders, that journey to success will lead to 20% of teams being able to be successful, with 20% of CEOs confident that they'll achieve their strategic objectives. And ultimately, when you get your whole act together, 100% sure that you will do it. So that's basically the message I have today. So remember, the journey's just begun. The digital journey is a very exciting one. Don't be frightened. One step at a time. But remember what it is about. Building your skills so you can carry out the next journey and the next journey. So equipping your people with enterprise architecture skills, even if they're not an enterprise architect, but with some of those skill sets, complementing the enterprise architect, making sure that the priorities for your business are reflected in the decision sets that you make, and making sure that you can deliver that digital transformation successfully. Is basically in the hands of your stakeholders and in the hands of the people. And you need to make sure that they've got the right skills and capabilities and competencies to do that. So I'd just like to say thank you for your time today. I hope I've helped people think it through, some of the issue areas that they may have. And I wish you every success for the future. Thank you.